everyone, I'm Rosalie Tim. So today I'd like to talk to you about interpreting music and my considerations for the process of translation of songs, to give you kind of an image of what that is like. My own parents were deaf, my uncle was deaf, and my other relatives were deaf as well. My daughter is also deaf, so she is 5th generation deaf. The reason that I want to emphasize that is just to tell you that my family is strongly rooted in deaf culture and in American Sign Language. Oftentimes, deaf people are not as motivated about music as people who are not deaf. They think it is more of a hearing thing, as they say. I fell in love with music when I was 3 or 5 years old. I wanted to learn how to play the piano and the guitar. My mother didn't quite understand it, but she let me. It was a challenge. My parents had no motivation to learn music. They only danced. Signing only English to the song lyrics instead of the conceptual meaning was just not very interesting for them. People who are hard of hearing or can hear somewhat really enjoy sign English interpretation because they can hear the words and they can match it with the beat. You know, like the song I'm bad, I'm really bad. They can see how it goes, I'm bad, I'm really bad, and just kind of how the words really match that beat. Like my sister. I enjoyed music, but I also felt alone because none of my family was very interested in it, for the most part. My mother understood my interest for music and my desire to be involved. I decided to play with songs and to find a way to make them work with the beat and everything else. So I would practice in front of my mom. My mom still would not be interested. So I would write some notes to myself on a paper and see if I could make something more interesting to my mom. And that's what I did growing up. When I was 7 years old, I could safely say, I think it would be safe to say, 90% of my songs were successful. Now I'm more successful even in that 10% that was left. Now I'm more successful even than that because I'm able to lose the form of the language and go for the concept. So now it is more 100% that I'm able to work on it, my parents are able to accept. It is something that I really connect with. So this is how I'm able to interpret songs that my mother can accept 100% of the time. It has to be something about general culture, something that I can expand upon and that everyone can connect to. I need to add the context as well because the song is simply I'm blue, I'm leaving. They need to have more context as to why. You can interpret it that way where you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. First of all, it's very important to have a song that has some kind of a story. Not simply, oh, I love you and this is why I love you, or I'm angry, or I have no life. What you need is to know the context behind the song, the story, what the purpose is, where that person is going. Because without it, if those questions are not answered, there is no meaning. So you need the context. Also, when you choose a song, it has to have rhythm of some kind. And this is why. Remember, my parents loved dancing. I noticed that my mother would respond if she could feel the beat. So if there was a song like a ballad that was slow or a saga that had no beat, no drums, then she simply could not connect to it. but she could feel the beat. That was something she could feel in her body that she'd experienced when it came to music. And that was something she could connect to. It was something that she could draw on, something that she could listen to with her eyes, just as someone who is not deaf could listen with their ears. When she would look at a song that was being interpreted, she wanted to have some kind of a beat, whether it be fast or slow. People who are very rooted in deaf culture generally want a beat. 80–90% of our community is very much, how would I put this, about the context and the beat. The priority is to feel the music more than to be able to hear the music. Third, I would say the English words. Third, I'd like to address how I would sign the English words. When I watch my videos on YouTube in general, I either connect with the music and the English words and follow those, or break away from the form 100%. With no rhythm or no ties to music. It's very difficult, and sometimes I'm not successful. Sometimes I might be signing a song like, oh, I miss you bad, I wonder why, and then I'm kind of moving in beat with the music, and then there's sometimes when I mouth the words. And it's hard to understand the meaning and the context, and there is no story in ASL, and it becomes confusing. That would be what my mother would consider a failure. I've seen very few interpreters actually use ASL successfully in music. Probably just 2 interpreters who are very skilled and qualified and whose music I enjoy watching. Most of it is that they break free from the form of the music. And the way they film it just seems to finally interpret. Other people, not so much. There's that linguistic oppression and that kind of a mix. Some people sign in a way that shows no backstory or context, and it simply is not enjoyable to watch. Even if there is something simple like even if it's something very simple, it's important to have the beat in there. Sometimes we love music, but it's difficult to watch it because the cultures simply are not a good fit for one another. So finding a way to fit my culture with the music I love is sometimes very challenging and sometimes simply cannot be done. Breaking away from the English form and going for meaning is how we're ultimately successful. Sometimes if I sign with the beat and move my body too much, it can be distracting. Or sometimes the music beat just isn't ideal for signing. If you just stand there and sign song, 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 that does not communicate anything. It just means that music is playing. But the signed song doesn't really tie into your story. It could be dead air, it could be the vibrations that you feel from the music. Instead, why don't you make that something visual? You can use classifiers in ASL to show what that music might look like. Maybe you could show the music kind of encroaching on your body. Maybe you could show what's happening. Maybe you could show a car going off to the side of the road and someone getting out, or whatever is happening in the story. Or maybe you could move your body time with the music, but not overly much, or it might be distracting. So my rules are, make sure you have a story. The song has to have rhythm. And sign something that you can mediate, that ASL can fit into. that you can fit into sign. My husband is not deaf, he plays the guitar. So I really took that opportunity with him to play with the words, to interpret it, and to make my native language, American Sign Language, fit into the English song lyrics, and that is how I live. I feel the rhythm a lot, which is great, and I've seen it, my growth, steady and constant as a flower grows. It depends on age. It also depends on being able to break away from the words and expand. Then there's Justin Blake's song, You Cry Me Ever. You Cry Me Beaver. The interpreter isn't quite sure what the song she just mentioned is. Cry Me a River. There is no real way to sign that literally necessarily, but to show that, oh, I feel sorry for you, or too bad so sad is what it really means. The song is about relationship, it's about an affair, as in it's the fault, it is your fault, not mine. And the question is, how can we really translate that into a hearing experience? Into an experience that deaf people can understand, pardon the interpreter. If you simply sign Cry Me a River instead of showing the concept, it shows kind of a paternalistic attitude toward deaf people. Not necessarily something you can understand. Call Me on the Phone, Teach Me How I Can Grow also has a rhythm. There's the voice, but signing it would be completely different than the way it is voiced. The way it is played is more related to the English. I would have to translate how I would sign it. Some words I completely had to get rid of and condense into concepts. So in closing, something that I've noticed is that there are many interpreters who love to sign songs. Maybe in an ASL class it might be assigned it for homework. This is very popular and I have nothing against that. But I do feel that, first of all, ASL is a skill that some people have and some people not so much. The ASL has its own grammar and its own rules that need to be practiced. And interpreting anything, especially a song, requires skill, but interpreting a song requires a different kind of skill set. It requires considering the context of the music as well as the music itself. So it is different from regular interpreting. It requires more research, more analysis, more communication of the music through ASL. And deaf people who sign songs in ASL and interpreters who sign songs can learn from each other and enjoy that process. They can enjoy being a part of that process and really growing their ASL to the best of their ability. Deaf people may see songs on television and maybe through their parents they may be exposed to it, but they maybe simply do not understand it fully. But the question is how we can give them the same understanding of hearing people of that music. This is something that, but ASL and interpreting classes hopefully will separate music more from regular interpreting, which has not been done up to this point. And really look into it on a deeper level to convey something that deaf people have experienced before and be a better fit for the deaf culture. That is all I have to say. Thank you for watching.